The blue light of distant stars reflected off the metal hull of the USS Frontier as it drifted through the edges of the solar system. Captain Eric Mason stood on the bridge, his weathered face illuminated by the glow of control panels. After 25 years in space, he thought he had seen everything the universe had to offer. He was wrong. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Lieutenant Kate Rogers, her eyes fixed on her scanner. Her fingers moved quickly across the controls as she tried to make sense of the readings. "There's an unusual energy signature about 3 million miles from our position." Eric walked over to her station and looked at the screen. "Natural phenomenon?" "I don't think so, sir," Kate replied. "The pattern is too regular, almost like a pulse." Chief Engineer Alan Reyes joined them, his dark eyebrows pulling together as he studied the readings. "Whatever it is, it's massive, and there's more than one source." "How many?" Eric asked. Alan's eyes widened slightly. "Hundreds." The bridge fell silent. Earth had made contact with only 2 alien species in the 50 years since humans had ventured beyond their solar system. Both encounters had been with small exploration vessels, not hundreds of unknown objects. "Communications Specialist Powell, any signals coming from that direction?" Eric asked. Diane Powell adjusted her headset and shook her head. "Nothing on standard frequencies, Captain. Wait." She paused, tilting her head as if listening to something faint. "There's something unusual on a frequency we don't typically monitor. It's structured. Definitely not natural interference." "Plot a course," Eric decided. "Let's take a closer look." Security Officer Greg Simmons stepped forward. "Captain, with all due respect, this could be dangerous. We're not equipped for first contact with a large alien force." "We're an exploration vessel, Officer Simmons," Eric reminded him. "Exploring is what we do, but we'll approach with caution." Yellow, alert. The USS Frontier changed course, its engines humming as it moved toward the mysterious signals. The crew prepared themselves for anything, perhaps a new stellar phenomenon or maybe the discovery of the century. What they found exceeded their wildest expectations. "My God," Kate whispered as the view screen displayed the scene before them. Hundreds of ships drifted in the void. Ships of different sizes and designs, some as small as the Frontier, others as large as small moons. They moved slowly, seemingly at the mercy of space itself, rather than under their own power. "It's an armada," Alan said in awe, "a fleet of ships from different species." Eric had never seen anything like it. The ships showed signs of advanced technology far beyond human capabilities. Smooth hulls gleamed with strange metals. Propulsion systems of unknown design sat dark and silent. "They're adrift," he realized. "Something's wrong." Diane's console beeped. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission. It's coming through on multiple frequencies now." "Put it through," Eric ordered. The bridge speakers crackled, and a voice unlike anything they had heard before filled the room. It spoke in a language of clicks and high-pitched tones that no human could understand. "Computer, analyze and translate," Eric commanded. After a moment, the computer responded. "Translation in progress. Basic meaning appears to be a distress call." "Open a channel," Eric said. "This is Captain Eric Mason of the Earth vessel USS Frontier. We've received your distress signal and are offering assistance." There was silence, then a burst of activity on the communication channels. The computer worked to translate the flood of alien languages. "Multiple responses incoming," Diane reported. "They seem surprised by our offer." Finally, one voice came, through clearer than the others, the computer translating it into English with a mechanical tone. "This is Supreme Commander Zixvora of the Galactic Confederation Armada. You are human? Your species is known to us, but we did not expect to encounter you here. Our situation is dire, but I question what assistance your primitive vessel could provide." Eric exchanged glances with his crew. The alien's dismissive tone was clear even through translation. "We may be able to help more than you think," Eric replied calmly. "What's your situation?" A pause. "Our quantum drive systems have failed, all of them across every ship in our fleet. We have been stranded for what you would call months. Our life support systems are failing. We have tried everything within our considerable knowledge, Alan whispered to Eric. Quantum drives? That's technology we've only theorized about. We'd like to come aboard your command ship and assess the situation, Eric offered. Perhaps a fresh perspective might help. Another long pause followed. Eric could almost feel the reluctance in the silence. You may approach, Zixavora finally replied. I will allow 2 of your crew to board. Be warned, human physiology may find our atmosphere challenging. Bring whatever breathing apparatus you require. 4 hours later, Eric and Alan stood in the docking bay of the alien flagship. Despite breathing masks, they stared in wonder at their surroundings. The bay alone was larger than the entire frontier. Lights pulsed along organic-looking walls that seemed to be alive, shifting subtly as they watched. Their technology is incredible, Alan whispered. It's like nothing we've ever seen. 3 aliens approached. The one in the center stood nearly 8 feet tall, with a body covered in iridescent scales and 8 limbs that moved with fluid grace. This was clearly Zixavora. The 2 flanking aliens were different species entirely, one short and stocky with 4 arms, the other tall and willowy with skin that seemed to shift colors with each movement. Welcome aboard the Ascendant Light, Zixavora said, the words translated through a device on one of the aliens' limbs. I am still uncertain what creatures of your limited development could offer, but our situation grows desperate. Eric stepped forward. Sometimes the simplest solutions are overlooked by those with the most advanced knowledge. The alien made a sound that the translator didn't catch, perhaps a laugh or scoff. Our fleet consists of 12 species human. We are the Galactic Confederation, rulers of 3 spiral arms of this galaxy. Our combined knowledge spans millennia, yet here we drift, unable to repair our drives. Zixavora gestured with 2 of its limbs. Show me this simple solution you believe we've overlooked. First, we need to understand the problem, Alan said, unintimidated by the alien's arrogance. When did the drives fail? Was it simultaneous across all ships? Yes, replied the shorter alien. I am Chief Technician Vrexit. The failure occurred during our passage through this sector. Every ship, regardless of design or species origin, lost power to their quantum drives at precisely the same moment. Eric and Alan exchanged a meaningful look. That's not a coincidence, Eric said. That's not a natural failure. Of course not, Zixavora said impatiently. We believe it was a weapon, a new technology deployed against us by enemies we cannot identify. Or sabotage, Eric suggested. The aliens fell silent, all 3 staring at him with their strange eyes. Impossible, Vrexit finally said. Our security is absolute. Nothing is absolute, Alan replied. Would you show us the drive systems? The primary ones first, then the backups? Zixavora studied them for an uncomfortably long moment. Very well, though I doubt you will comprehend what you see. As they followed the aliens deeper into the massive ship, Eric felt the weight of the moment. Humanity had just been dismissed as primitive by beings with technology beyond their dreams. Yet these advanced aliens were helpless, drifting in space. We'll prove them wrong, he whispered to Alan. I know. Alan replied with a small smile. That's what humans do best. The engine room of the Ascendant Light was unlike anything Eric and Alan had ever seen. Massive cylinders of swirling blue energy pulsed weakly, connected by tubes that seemed to be made of both metal and something organic. The space was vast, with dozens of aliens from different species working at various stations. This is our quantum drive core, Vrexit explained, or rather it was. Now it's little more than decoration. Alan approached one of the cylinders, his eyes wide with wonder despite the situation. May I scan it? Vrexit made a gesture that might have been the alien equivalent of a shrug. If you wish, though your primitive scanners will likely tell you nothing. Alan ignored the insult and pulled out his handheld scanner. He moved slowly around the drive core, stopping occasionally to examine readings. Eric watched the aliens, Reactions. Most seemed to view the humans with a mixture of curiosity and dismissal, like adults watching children play with tools they didn't understand. You mentioned the failure happened simultaneously across all ships, Eric said to Zixvora. Were you in formation when it occurred? Yes. Standard travel formation, the commander replied. We were returning from diplomatic negotiations with the Solosian Empire. Successful negotiations? Eric asked casually. Zixvora's scales shifted slightly in what might have been discomfort. Not entirely. The Solosians refused our terms. Interesting, Eric murmured. Alan completed his scan and joined them. I'd like to see how the drive connects to your control systems. Vrextil led them to a different section where transparent panels displayed complex patterns of light and color. These are our quantum control interfaces. They regulate the drive's output and direction. Alan studied them carefully. These seem to be functioning normally. Yes, Vrextil said with obvious frustration. That's part of what makes no sense. Our diagnostics show everything is in working order, yet nothing works. It's as if the fundamental laws of physics changed. Eric looked thoughtful. What about your backup systems? They failed simultaneously as well, Zixvora said. That's why we believe it was a weapon. I'm not convinced, Alan said, still studying his scanner readings. Captain, can we return to the frontier? I need to run these readings through our main computer. Zixvora's upper limbs twitched. You're leaving? Already? Just temporarily, Eric assured him. We need to analyze what we've found so far. What could you possibly have found that our scientists missed? Vrextil asked, his tone somewhere between curious and mocking. Alan smiled politely. Perhaps nothing. But sometimes a different perspective helps. Back aboard the frontier, the senior crew gathered in the conference room. The mood was tense, with the weight of responsibility they now faced. What did you find? Lieutenant Kate Rogers asked as soon as Eric and Alan entered. Alan connected his scanner to the ship's computer. Something very strange. The quantum drives aren't actually broken. What? Several voices asked at once. They're being blocked, Alan continued. There's a pattern in the energy readings, something interfering with the drive's functionality. It's subtle, almost undetectable unless you're specifically looking for it. But the aliens have been trying to fix this for months, Security Officer Greg Simmons pointed out. Their technology is far beyond ours. How could they miss it? Because they're too specialized, Eric explained. Each species in the Confederation seems to have its own area of expertise. They're so focused on their specific knowledge that they don't see the bigger picture. Dr. Lisa Bennett, the ship's medical officer, studied the readings on the screen. There's something odd here. She pointed to a pattern in the data. This almost looks biological. Biological? Alan looked confused. How could a biological component affect a quantum drive? I'm not sure, Lisa admitted. But I've seen similar patterns in certain types of neural networks. It's as if something is thinking its way through their systems. Communications specialist Diane Powell suddenly straightened in her chair. What if it's not a weapon at all? What if it's sabotage? The room fell silent as everyone considered this. That would explain why all ships were affected simultaneously, Kate said slowly. Someone inside the Confederation could have planned this. But why? Greg asked. Why strand your own fleet? Politics, Eric said grimly. Zixvora mentioned failed diplomatic negotiations. There could be factions within the Confederation with different agendas. Alan nodded. And if the sabotage was subtle enough, using methods they wouldn't think to look for, we need to go back, Lisa declared. I need to get closer readings of those organic components in their system. And I need to learn more about their communication networks, Diane added. If this was internal sabotage, there might be traces. In their communication logs, Eric looked at his crew with pride. They were facing advanced alien technology and complex interstellar politics, yet they weren't intimidated. They were doing what humans did best, approaching problems from unexpected angles. All right, he decided. We'll go back with a full team this time. But we need to be diplomatic about this. These aliens already think we're primitive, suggesting That one of their own betrayed them won't be well received without solid proof. 2 hours later, an expanded team from the Frontier boarded the alien flagship. This time, they brought more equipment and included Lisa and Diane. The aliens seemed surprised by their return. "You found something?" Zixvora asked, all 8 limbs shifting in what might have been anticipation. "We have some theories we'd like to investigate," Eric said carefully. "With your permission, we'd like to examine more of your systems." Vrex's till made a clicking sound. "I maintained your primitive technology would be of no use, Commander." Yet, they returned with more of it. Another alien stepped forward. This one had smooth green skin and 3 eyes arranged in a triangle pattern. "Let them try, Vrextil. We have nothing to lose." "Thank you," Eric said, nodding to the green alien. "And you are?" "Science Counselor Mirak," the alien replied. "Unlike some, I believe knowledge can come from unexpected sources." With Mirak's help, the human team gained access to more systems. Lisa focused on the organic components of the drives while Alan and Diane examined the control interfaces. Greg kept watch, still wary of the aliens' intentions. As they worked, the massive alien ship continued to drift, power reserves dropping steadily. Around them, the tension among the alien crew was palpable. Some watched the humans with hope, others with disdain. "I've found something," Lisa said suddenly, her voice low. She was examining a section where the drive connected to the ship's main power distribution. "There's a biological component here that shouldn't be active. It's like a virus, but technological." "A biodigital virus?" Alan asked, joining her. "Yes, and it's not just affecting the drives." Lisa pointed to her readings. "It's in their diagnostic systems too. That's why they can't detect the problem. The virus is hiding itself." Across the room, Diane was studying communication logs with the help of a reluctant alien technician. "Captain," she called out, "I think I found when it happened. There was a communication burst received by all ships just before the drives failed." Eric turned to Zixvora, who had been observing silently. "Commander, I believe your fleet wasn't hit by a weapon. It was sabotaged from within, using a biological component your systems wouldn't recognize as a threat." The alien commander's reaction was difficult to read, but the sudden stillness of all 8 limbs suggested shock. "Impossible," Vrextil declared. "Our security is designed to stop attacks you can anticipate." Eric interrupted gently. "This was something different, something designed specifically to bypass your defenses." For the first time, Zixvora looked at the humans with something other than condescension. "If what you say is true, can you remove this biodigital virus?" Alan and Lisa exchanged glances. "We think so," Alan said. "But we'll need to work together, our knowledge combined with yours." "Then let us begin," Zixvora said, all traces of superiority gone from the alien's voice. "It seems we have much to learn from Earth after all." The next 12 hours aboard the Ascendant Light were intense. Human and alien crews worked side by side, their earlier distrust giving way to cautious cooperation. Alan set up a makeshift workstation near the main drive, surrounded by equipment from the Frontier. Lisa worked nearby, studying samples of the biological components under a portable microscope. "This virus is unlike anything I've seen," Lisa said, looking up from her work. "It has both digital and organic properties. It can actually adapt to countermeasures." Science Counselor Mirak leaned in to observe her findings. "This explains why our systems couldn't detect it. Our security is designed to stop either digital or biological threats, not a hybrid." Across the engine room, Eric and Zixvora watched as teams of humans and aliens dismantled sections of the quantum drives. "Control systems. Your people work differently than ours," Zixvora observed. "They ask questions outside their areas of specialization." "On Earth, we value flexibility," Eric explained. "Our ships are small, our crews limited. Everyone needs to understand at least the basics of everyone else's job." "Inefficient," the alien commander said, but there was less criticism in the tone than before. "Sometimes," Eric admitted. But it has advantages. Like now. Diane approached them, holding a datapad. Captain Commander, I've traced the origin of the communication burst that delivered the virus. It came from a ship called the Void Seeker. The Void Seeker? Zixvora's scale shifted color slightly. That's Vice Commander Krell's vessel. Where is Vice Commander Krell now? Eric asked. He left on a scout ship shortly after our drives. Failed. Supposedly to seek help. Zixvora's voice had grown cold. He never returned. I think we know why, Eric said gently. Zixvora was silent for a long moment. Krell opposed the peace negotiations with the Solutians. He believed we should conquer them, not make treaties. The alien commander's limbs moved in what might have been a gesture of regret. I never imagined he would go this far. Politics can be dangerous anywhere in the universe, Eric said. The question now is how to remove the virus. Alan called them over to his workstation. We've isolated the virus's core programming. It's brilliant in a terrible way. It uses the organic components to hide from digital scans, and the digital components to hide from biological detection. Can you remove it? Zixvora asked. Not exactly, Alan replied. It's too integrated into your systems now, but we think we can bypass it. Lisa joined them, wiping her hands on a cloth. The virus works by intercepting commands from your control systems to the quantum drives. It's like a filter that blocks everything going through. So we need to create a new pathway, Alan continued. One the virus doesn't control. How? Rextil asked, having approached silently. We build an analog system, Alan said. Something completely mechanical that the biodigital virus can't infect or block. Rextil made a harsh sound. Analog? Like physical switches and levers? That's ancient technology. Exactly, Alan nodded. So ancient that your virus won't recognize it as a threat. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. Over the next few hours, the human crew outlined their plan. They would build a physical bypass system, essentially a mechanical bridge around the infected digital controls. It would be crude by Confederation standards, but it could work. We'll need materials, Alan told Zixvora. Basic metals, conducting, alloys, and tools to shape them. Across the engine room, Lisa continued studying the virus, hoping to learn more about its origin. A sudden realization made her call Eric over urgently. Captain, this virus has markers in it I recognize, she said quietly so only he could hear. It's not just Confederation technology. There are elements in it that match what we found in those ruins on Proxima Centauri 4 last year. Eric's expression grew serious. The Nexari ruins, but that civilization has been extinct for thousands of years. Apparently not completely extinct, Lisa replied. Or someone has access to their technology. Either way, this is bigger than just internal Confederation politics. Eric shared this information with Zixvora in private. The alien commander's reaction was profound, all 8 limbs going completely still. The Nexari were our greatest enemies, Zixvora explained, voice low. We believed we had eliminated them centuries ago, after they nearly destroyed 3 star systems. If they still exist. The alien didn't finish the thought. First things first, Eric said firmly. Let's get your fleet moving again, then we can worry about who might be behind this. Work continued through what would have been night on Earth. Humans showed aliens how to create mechanical switches and relays. The Confederation engineers, once they got past their initial disdain for such primitive technology, proved quick learners. By the time 24 hours had passed, Alan's team had constructed a crude but functional bypass system. It consisted of physical switches, mechanical relays, and simple analog controls that would direct power around the infected systems directly to the quantum drives. It won't give you full power or navigation, Alan explained to Zixvora as they prepared to test the system. But it should provide enough energy to maintain life support and give you limited movement. You've accomplished in one day what our best minds couldn't in months, the commander admitted. I misjudged your species, Captain Mason. We're used to making do with less, Eric replied with a small smile. Necessity drives innovation. The moment of truth arrived. The bridge of the Ascendant Light was crowded with both humans and aliens. As Alan prepared to activate the bypass system, tension filled the air. "Ready, Captain," Alan reported. "Proceed," Eric and Zixavora said almost in unison. Alan pressed a series of physical buttons and turned a large mechanical switch. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a low hum began to build throughout the massive ship. Lights that had been dim for months brightened slightly. On the status displays, power levels began to rise. "It's working," Vrextil exclaimed, surprise evident in the alien's voice. The bypass system channeled power directly to the essential systems of the ship, circumventing the virus's blockade. It wasn't elegant by Confederation standards. Physical wires and mechanisms where there should have been quantum entanglement and artificial intelligence. But it worked. "We have life support back to full capacity," an alien technician reported. "And maneuvering thrusters are responding." A cheer went up from both humans and aliens. Greg Simmons, who had been the most skeptical about helping the aliens, clapped Alan on the back. "The other ships in the fleet," Zixavora said, turning to Eric. "Can you help us implement this solution for them as well?" "Of course," Eric replied. "We'll teach your engineers how to build the bypass systems. But there's a bigger issue we need to discuss." "The virus is still in our systems," Zixavora acknowledged, "and we have only limited mobility. Not enough for faster-than-light travel." "Exactly," Eric said. "This is just a temporary solution. To fully repair your ships, we need more resources than we have here." "What do you suggest?" Eric took a deep breath. What he was about to propose was unprecedented. "I suggest we bring your entire fleet to Earth for repairs." The bridge fell silent. Even the celebrating stopped as everyone turned to look at the human captain. "Earth?" Zixavora repeated, as if unsure they had heard correctly. "You would bring the Confederation Armada to your homeworld?" "Yes," Eric said firmly. "It's the only way to properly remove the virus and restore your ships to full functionality." Murmurs broke out among the alien crew. The idea of going to Earth, a planet many had considered primitive and unimportant for salvation, was clearly shocking. "Such a thing has never happened in Confederation history," one of the alien officers said. "To depend on a non-member world for repairs." "I understand your reluctance," Eric said, "but your fleet is still vulnerable. The virus is contained, not eliminated, and right now you have very limited mobility." Zixavora was silent for a long moment, all three eyes fixed on Eric. Finally, the alien commander spoke. "Very well, Captain. Mason, we accept your offer. The Confederation Armada will go to Earth." The sight of the alien Armada entering Earth's orbit caused worldwide panic. Hundreds of massive alien vessels suddenly appeared in the sky, visible even during daylight as dark shapes moving against the blue. Military forces around the globe went on high alert. News channels broadcast non-stop coverage. People gathered in streets looking up with a mixture of fear and wonder. President Susan Coleman stood in the White House Situation Room, surrounded by advisors and military officials, all talking at once. Her face was tense but composed. "Quiet, please," she said firmly. The room fell silent. "What do we know for certain?" Defense Secretary Frank Nelson cleared his throat. "Madam President, the USS Frontier is at the head of the alien fleet. Captain Mason has been in constant communication. He assures us this is not an invasion." "Not an invasion?" General William Harris of the Air Force said incredulously. "Look at those ships. The smallest one could probably wipe out a continent." "Yet, they haven't fired a single shot," the president pointed out, "and they're being led by one of our own ships." She turned to her communications director. "Get Captain Mason on the line. I want to hear directly from him." When Eric's face appeared on the screen, he looked tired but determined. "Madam President, thank you for responding. I know how this must look." "Like an alien invasion, Captain," President Coleman said bluntly. "Give me a reason not to order every weapon we have fired at those ships." "Because they need our help," Eric explained. He quickly outlined the situation, the stranded alien fleet, the sabotage, and the solution humans had provided. "They pose no threat to Earth. In fact, this is a historic opportunity. The Galactic Confederation is offering to share knowledge and technology in exchange for our assistance. The president listened carefully, then asked, "And you trust these aliens, Captain?" "I believe Commander Zixvora is honorable," Eric replied. "And right now they're dependent on us. Their ships have only limited functionality. They couldn't attack even if they wanted to." After a tense silence, President Coleman nodded. "Very well, Captain. Bring Commander Zixvora to meet with me and the Security Council. No more than 5 aliens total. We'll hold the meeting at the neutral site in Geneva." "Thank you, Madam President," Eric said with visible relief. "Don't thank me yet, Captain," she replied. "If this goes wrong, it's on you." The meeting in Geneva was unlike any diplomatic gathering in human history. 5 humans, the President, the Defense Secretary, the UN Secretary General Captain Mason, and Dr. Lisa Bennett, sat across from 5 aliens of different species. Commander Zixvora was flanked by Science Counselor Mirak, Chief Technician Frex Till, and 2 other high-ranking Confederation officials. "Let me understand this correctly," President Coleman said after introductions were complete. "You want us to help repair your entire fleet?" "Yes," Zixvora confirmed. "Your people have already proven they can counter the virus affecting our systems. With greater resources, they could restore our fleet to full functionality." "And in return?" "Knowledge," Zixvora said simply. "We can offer technological insights that would advance your civilization by centuries, medical knowledge that could cure diseases you still struggle with, clean energy sources beyond your current understanding." The Defense Secretary leaned forward. "Why should we trust you? Once your ships are repaired, what's to stop you from turning on us?" Vrextil made a harsh sound, but Zixvora raised a limb for silence. "Your caution is understandable. The Confederation has not always dealt fairly with developing worlds. But this situation is unprecedented. Your people have shown capabilities we did not expect. Captain Mason and his crew have earned my respect, something I do not give lightly. Additionally," Mirak added, "we offer a formal recognition of Earth's sovereign status. No Confederation vessel would violate your space without permission." President Coleman exchanged glances with her advisors. "We'll need time to discuss this." "Time is something we have little of," Zixvora said gravely. "The bypass systems your people created are temporary. Already some are beginning to fail. And if the Nexari are truly involved in this sabotage, as Dr. Bennett's findings suggest, then none of us are safe." The mention of the Nexari caused the alien delegation to shift uncomfortably. The UN Secretary General noticed this. "These Nexari," he said. "Tell us about them." Mirak spoke up. They were a highly advanced species who believed in their own superiority above all others. Centuries ago, they nearly destroyed the Confederation in a war that spanned 50 years. We believed them extinct. "But now you think they might be behind this sabotage?" President Coleman asked. "It's a possibility we cannot ignore," Zixvora replied. "If even a faction of the Nexari survived, and they have allied with traitors in our midst like Vice Commander Krell, the consequences could be severe for all spacefaring species, including yours." The human leaders excused themselves to confer, privately. Hours passed before they returned with their decision. "We will help you," President Coleman announced, "but under strict conditions. Your ships will remain in high orbit. Only technical personnel will be permitted to come to Earth, and all knowledge exchanges will be monitored and gradual." "Agreed," Zixvora said without hesitation. Within days, Earth transformed. The world's greatest engineers, scientists, and technicians were recruited for what the media called the Salvation Project. National rivalries were set aside as countries pooled their resources and expertise. Even nations that had been enemies for generations now worked side by side. In orbit, small Earth vessels ferried supplies and personnel to and from the alien ships. Confederation engineers came down to Earth in limited numbers, always accompanied by human escorts. The initial fear had given way to cautious curiosity. Eric found himself in a new role as chief liaison between humans and aliens. He worked closely with Zixvora, coordinating the massive repair effort. The alien commander had changed noticeably since their first meeting, the superiority and condescension replaced by genuine respect. "Your people continue to surprise me," Zixavora told Eric, as they observed a team of human and alien engineers working together on a quantum drive component. "They learn so quickly." "We've had to," Eric replied. "Our history is full of challenges we've had to overcome with limited resources." "Perhaps that is your greatest strength," the alien mused. "The Confederation has relied on overwhelming technological superiority for so long that we forgot the value of ingenuity. On Earth, Lisa worked with alien biologists to study the virus more thoroughly. What they discovered was troubling. "It's definitely Nexari technology," she reported during a briefing with President Coleman. "But it's been modified recently. The Nexari didn't just survive. They've been continuing to develop their technology in secret." "Could they pose a threat to Earth?" the president asked. "If they can disable the Confederation fleet, they could certainly attack us," Lisa answered honestly. "But I don't think that's their immediate goal. This seems more like a first step in a larger plan against the Confederation itself." Meanwhile, ordinary humans and aliens began to learn about each other. Cultural exchanges were cautious but fruitful. Humans were fascinated by the diverse alien species and their technologies. The aliens, in turn, were surprised by human art, music, and literature, concepts some of them had never experienced in the same way. The most unexpected breakthrough came from an unlikely source. Bob Murphy, a retired mechanical engineer in his 70s, volunteered his services despite his age. While younger engineers focused on the complex quantum technology, Bob examined the basic mechanical interfaces. "You're overthinking it," he told a group of frustrated alien technicians after watching their repeated failures. "Sometimes the simplest solution is the best." To everyone's amazement, Bob's straightforward approach solved a critical problem that had stumped the Confederation's specialists for weeks. His solution was so elegant in its simplicity that even Vrexatil was impressed. "Perhaps," the alien technician admitted reluctantly, "we have become too dependent on complexity." As the third month of repairs neared completion, the mood was optimistic. Most of the fleet had been cleansed of the virus, and the quantum drives were being reactivated, one by one. Earth had changed too. New technologies were already being adapted for human use, with the Confederation's guidance. But not everyone was pleased with these developments. In the shadows, both human and alien factions worked to undermine the collaboration. Some humans feared the aliens would eventually turn on them. Some aliens believed working with primitives was beneath their dignity, and somewhere beyond Earth's system, other forces watched and waited. The first move in a long game had been aid. The response had been unexpected. Now it was time for the next phase. 3 months to the day after the alien Armada first entered Earth's orbit, the final repairs were complete. The massive fleet, once helpless and adrift, now hummed with restored power. Quantum drives across all ships had been cleansed of the virus and rebuilt with new safeguards designed by joint human-alien teams. On the bridge of the Ascendant Light, Eric stood beside Commander Zixavora as they watched the status displays turn from yellow to green, one by one. "It is done," Zixavora said with something like wonder in the alien's voice. "Every ship in the fleet is operational again." "Congratulations," Eric said, extending his hand in the human gesture of goodwill he had taught the commander. Zixavora's upper limb wrapped carefully around Eric's hand. "The congratulations belong to your people, Captain Mason. Without Earth's help, we would still be drifting through space, our power failing." The bridge was crowded with both humans and aliens who had worked together over the past months. Alan stood with Vrextil by the engineering console, the two now colleagues despite their rocky start. Lisa and Mirak were reviewing final data on the virus, still working to understand its full implications. "The fleet will depart tomorrow," Zixavora announced, "but first we must properly thank our human friends." The ceremony that followed was broadcast across Earth and throughout the Confederation fleet. In a massive hangar aboard the Ascendant, light decorated with symbols from both human and alien cultures, representatives from both sides gathered. President Coleman led the human delegation, while Zix Vora and the Confederation Council represented the aliens. Today marks a turning point in galactic history, Zix Vora began, voice carrying through the translation systems to all listeners. When our fleet was crippled by the actions of traitors, we found help from an unexpected source. The humans of Earth, a species we had dismissed as primitive and unimportant, have proven us wrong in every way. The alien commander turned to face President Coleman directly. By the authority vested in me as Supreme Commander of the Galactic Confederation Armada, and with the unanimous support of the Confederation Council, I hereby formally recognize Earth as a full member world of the Galactic Confederation. Gasps and murmurs spread through the crowd. This was unprecedented. Normally, new species had to go through centuries of probationary status before being granted full membership. This recognition, Zix Vora continued, grants Earth all rights and protections of the Confederation. No member species may interfere with your world or its development. Your system is sovereign territory, to be respected by all Confederation vessels. President Coleman stepped forward. On behalf of the people of Earth, we accept this recognition and look forward to a new era of cooperation between our worlds. The ceremony continued with the exchange of symbolic gifts and the signing of formal treaties. But the real negotiations had happened in private meetings over the previous weeks. Earth would receive controlled access to alien technology, particularly in medicine, clean energy, and environmental restoration. In return, humans would share their unique problem-solving approaches and perspectives. As the ceremony concluded, Zix Vora approached Eric privately. "There is one more matter we must discuss," the alien commander said quietly. "The Nexari threat." Eric nodded grimly. Lisa's research confirmed it. The virus definitely contained Nexari technology, and Vice Commander Krell is still out there. Somewhere. The Confederation Council has been reluctant to acknowledge the possibility of Nexari survival, Zix Vora admitted. "It raises too many uncomfortable questions about our past actions, but I cannot ignore the evidence." "What will you do?" "I am forming a special task force to investigate," the commander replied. "And I would like some of your crew to join it." Eric looked surprised. "You want humans on a Confederation task force?" "Your people see things differently," Zix Vora explained. "You find solutions where we see only problems. That is a perspective we need." Before Eric could respond, alarms blared across the ship. Both rushed back to the bridge where chaos had erupted. Multiple unauthorized communications detected across the fleet, an alien officer reported. "Someone is trying to access our command systems again." "Another virus?" Eric asked, joining Alan at a console. "No," Alan replied, fingers flying across the controls. "This is different. It's a direct override attempt. Someone's trying to take control of the ships." Vrex's Till pushed his way to the main engineering display. "It's coming from within our fleet. The ship's stellar void is broadcasting the override signal." "Krell," Zix Vora hissed. "He has returned. Lock all command systems. Prepare to—" The commander was cut off as the lights flickered. Across the main viewer, a new face appeared. An alien with pale skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. "Nexari," gasped one of the council members. "Greetings, Confederation fools," the Nexari said, its voice oddly musical despite the harsh words. "And hello to our new human friends. How convenient that you've all gathered in one place." "Who are you?" Zix Vora demanded. "I am Zartek, last High Commander of the Nexari Dominion. Your ancestors thought they destroyed us, but we merely retreated, watched and waited." The alien's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Now, after centuries of preparation, we have returned, and we have your traitor, Krell, to thank for his assistance." The view changed to show Vice Commander Krell, now clearly under guard by Nexari. "Soldiers, I made a mistake," Krell said, voice shaking. "They promised me power, not this. Don't listen to—" The transmission cut him off, returning to Zartek's face. "Your fleet was to be disabled permanently, not repaired," the Nexari commander said. "But no matter. We've learned something valuable about these humans you've allied with. They are interesting. Perhaps we'll keep some as specimens when we cleanse your worlds." Eric stepped forward. You're making a serious mistake if you think either humans or the Confederation will fall easily. Zartek's 4 eyes focused on Eric. A human speaks boldly. Commendable, but futile. Your primitive world will be among the first we reclaim. Transmission cut off suddenly. Alarms continued to sound throughout the ship. They're gone, Alan reported after checking the sensors. A ship just jumped to faster than light at the edge of our system. How did they get past our defenses? One of the council members demanded. It doesn't matter now, Zixvora said firmly. What matters is that we're facing a threat none of us anticipated. The Nexari have returned, and they've been watching us. Watching all of us, for centuries. The next few hours were a blur of emergency meetings and preparations. The Confederation fleet would need to depart immediately to warn their home systems. Earth's defenses would need to be strengthened against potential Nexari attacks. In the midst of the crisis, something unexpected happened. Other alien ships, not part of the Confederation, appeared at the edge of the solar system. Their designs were unlike anything the Confederation had seen before. We're being hailed, Diane reported from the communication station. A new alien appeared on the screen, this one with features that seemed almost crystalline. Greetings, people of Earth and Confederation representatives, the alien said. I am Ambassador Lyrix of the Free Worlds Coalition. We have been monitoring the situation from afar. The Nexari threat concerns us all. The Free Worlds Coalition? Zixvora seemed confused. I know of no such organization. We have remained hidden from the Confederation by choice, Ambassador Lyrix explained. Your dominance of 3 spiral arms made caution necessary, but now with the Nexari returning, old divisions must be set aside. Why contact us now? President Coleman asked. Because of Earth, the ambassador replied simply. We have watched how you work together, humans and Confederation species. It suggests a new way forward, one based on cooperation rather than dominance. The humans' approach to problem solving, their creativity and adaptability, these are qualities the galaxy will need in the coming conflict. The implications were clear. The galaxy was more complex, more divided, and more dangerous than even the Confederation had realized. But humanity's unexpected entry onto the galactic stage had changed the equation. As the Confederation fleet prepared to depart, Lieutenant Kate Rogers and several other human crew members volunteered to join Zixvora's task force. Dr. Lisa Bennett would go as well, her expertise on the Nexari virus now invaluable. This isn't the end, Eric told his departing crew. It's just the beginning of humanity's role in something much bigger than we ever imagined. On the observation deck, he watched with President Coleman as the massive alien fleet began to move away from Earth, their engines glowing with power restored by human hands. Do you think we made the right choice? The president asked quietly. Getting involved in a galactic conflict? I don't think we had a choice, Eric replied. The universe just got a lot smaller and more dangerous. But we've also made powerful allies. He paused, looking at the stars. And we've shown the galaxy something important, that sometimes the most advanced civilization isn't the one with the most technology, but the one that remembers the value of creativity, cooperation, and seeing problems from new angles. As the Confederation fleet vanished into faster-than-light travel, Earth faced an uncertain future. But for the first time, humanity stood not as an isolated species on a single planet, but as respected members of a vast, complex galactic community, all because they had offered help when no one else could or would.